This is the historic etchr sketchbook that I cannot for the life of me seem to finish. I don't have many pages left, I'm so close now, and I have this double page of a giraffe that I sketched like a year or two ago. It's horrific. And I thought we could try and paint it in watercolor today, so I hope you enjoy. When I sketched this giraffe over a year ago, I obviously thought that it seemed like a lovely idea and it would look really lovely in the sketchbook to have two A4 portrait pages next to each other, and don't get me wrong, it does look lovely, but I obviously hadn't considered the logistics of doing a painting like this, and it didn't fit on my desk. The area that I'm using as a desk, it did not fit. It was like much too big, and obviously it wouldn't fit on camera either, so I had to come up with a different solution. I decided to get my easel and try to pop it up against the window. It kind of worked, but it did fall on me once, and that really put me off, and I'm never going to do it again. That came with its own challenges though, because obviously the watercolour was kind of dripping down, and that's something that I've never encountered. I've only ever done watercolour completely flat. I've never done it on an angle like this in the studio where I have a pot of water. Obviously when I do plein air outside, that's not completely flat, but I'm using a water brush, so it's a different kind of thing. It was definitely a challenge, and I don't think I'm going to be doing it anytime soon. I would like to do an easel outside though. I think that could be really fun, but in the current setup it was really difficult. Also, 2 A4 pieces of paper is kind of massive, and whilst I was painting this, I think that especially for the background, the top page is a lot lighter than the bottom page because I'd obviously done them slightly separately. I think the coloured join isn't very good. It's very rare that I do a spread that goes across the page like this. I think the main reason is just because then photographing the art gets a little bit difficult, so I prefer to not do that. But I must admit, having a spread that goes across the page like this is very satisfying to look at. It makes the sketchbook look very good. The sketchbook in question is an etchr sketchbook. It's 100% cotton, and it was the first, it was kind of the first sketchbook that I bought. When I got back into painting, I got a moleskin sketchbook, and I thought it would be bigger than it was, but you know, when they said pocket, they really were not exaggerating. They said pocket and they really meant it. They meant an absolutely tiny pocket. So I looked into sketchbooks to see what other good sketchbook I could get, and this one came up. I did my research and saw that 100% cotton was basically universally the best. The etchr sketchbook had come up quite a lot at this point. This was like 2021, and I mean, they've grown so much in the last few years, but it wasn't as big then. So I tried this sketchbook for the very first time, and it was my first 100% cotton paper, and I kind of expected to be blown away. A lot of people said about how amazing it is and they never want to go back to a cellulose paper, but honestly I tried it and was disappointed. I think I had high expectations, but it definitely didn't meet that. Yes, the paper stays wet for a while, but I didn't think it was mind-blowing compared to a lot of the cellulose paper that I've already used. And whilst the paper was good, it was also expensive and I was kind of scared to use it. At the beginning, I would only put finished pieces in there. I had like no rough sketches. I only had completely finished pieces that was like following a tutorial or following a photo, and there were no rough sketches in it, and I didn't play about in it. I didn't have fun. I didn't really use it as a sketchbook. I used the Moleskine pocket sketchbook to have fun and play and try things, and I used this as more of an art book. And it got to the point that I was so precious over this expensive paper that I basically stopped using it. I got my Strathmore 500 series sketchbook, which was cheaper than this and you got more paper in it, and I ended up playing about and just filling those pages, and I basically stopped using the sketchbook altogether. It lasted pretty much an entire year, to the point that I kind of regret getting the sketchbook. The sketchbook is better and it is probably one of the best sketchbooks out there, but it wasn't something that was in my budget at the time. It wasn't something that I could actually afford to keep up. Because I couldn't afford to replace the sketchbook with another etcher, I honestly just stopped using it because I was so precious over the paper. I wasn't getting any use out of it. And I basically sketched a couple of pieces to try and finish it and stopped using it for an entire year. So I'm coming back to these sketches now. I have a giraffe and I have a portrait after this, and honestly I pressed so hard with the colour pencil that it's just not coming out at all. I've rubbed it out and it's literally not doing anything because it's been there for a year. The pencil lines were pretty solid, so I did have to add quite a bit of watercolour to try and cover them. I think the moral of the story for this sketchbook is buy the art supplies you can afford, because if you try and buy something fancy and you can't keep it up, you just end up not being able to have fun with it. And that's why I now actually own worse sketchbooks, like significantly worse. They are not cotton at all. Because sketchbooks like the Canson, the Royal Talons, the Ohuhu, they are cheap and you can just completely have fun. You can just pop some watercolour down and not feel guilty that you've literally created something in 5 minutes. And with this etcher, I felt like I had to spend hours on an actual piece to be getting my money's worth with the paper, and honestly, for a sketchbook, that's really not a healthy mentality. So that's what I learnt whilst completing this sketchbook. As I said, I have one page left, which is a portrait painting, and then I am happy to be done with this sketchbook. You might have seen that I did actually buy a second etcher for a completely different reason. It's for my scene series. The first one is actually up on my channel currently. Because I do actually like the paper, I've just come to the acceptance now that it is not sketchbook paper, it's an art book. Another big reason that I wanted to finish the sketchbook is because this is the second one that I'd started and I finished about 9 or 10. So this is completely out of sorts for the timeline. And everyone has a different way of working with their sketchbooks, but I personally like them to be pretty chronological. I try not to leave gaps if possible, so I do like to have them in some kind of order. I hope you've enjoyed watching me paint this giraffe. It's kind of okay, I'm kind of happy with how it turned out. Thank you for listening to me ramble on about why it's not a smart idea to buy expensive art supplies if you can't afford to keep it up. I'm curious to know if you felt like this before with any of the art supplies that you've purchased. I would love if you could let me know in the comments and we can have a little bit of a chat, because I feel like I'm not alone with this. I hope you are staying well, and I would love if you could hit that subscribe button so you don't miss my future videos. I'll see you on Thursday. Bye bye.